The village lay silent beneath the dark sky, stars flickering like whispers of an untold fate. The air carried the scent of wild herbs and damp earth, thick with an eerie stillness. It was a peaceful night, yet something unseen lurked just beyond the shadows. Mosi, the village doctor, sat near his fire, watching the flames dance. The warmth should have been comforting, but tonight unease clung to him like a second skin. It was as if the night itself was holding its breath, waiting for something inevitable. Then a sound shattered the silence, a knock, soft but insistent, echoing through the hut. Moses' hands froze mid-air, his heart suddenly pounding. The village was asleep, the night undisturbed. So who or what was at his door? He hesitated, listening, the fire crackling in the background. The knock came again, louder this time, demanding an answer. His fingers tightened around the wooden cup in his hands. Instinct told him that whatever stood beyond that door would change everything. Slowly, he rose to his feet, his shadow stretching long across the floor. Each step toward the door felt heavier, his pulse quickening with every breath. He pulled it open, and for a moment, the world stood still. Mosi, the village doctor, had been a fixture in the community for as long as anyone could remember. With his weathered hands and sharp eyes, he had healed many who came to him with ailments, both common and strange. But lately, Mosi had felt the weight of something heavier upon him, a sense of foreboding that he couldn't explain. Life, which had always been simple and predictable, was beginning to feel uncertain. That evening, as he sat by his small fire, preparing a pot of herbal tea, a knock echoed through the stillness of the night. It was a soft, urgent knock, one that seemed out of place in the quiet of the village. Mosi's hand froze mid-air as he reached for the pot, his heart suddenly quickening. Who could it be at this hour? Little did he know the answer would change his life forever. Mosi hesitated for a moment, his mind racing. The knock came again, louder this time, breaking the silence like a clap of thunder. He stood up slowly, his feet moving almost instinctively toward the door, but a sense of dread had already taken hold of him. His heart pounded in his chest as he opened the door to find no one in sight. But on his doorstep lay a bundle wrapped in old, tattered cloth, almost hidden in the shadows. The night was still, and the only sound was the rustling of the wind as Mosi bent down to inspect it. With cautious hands, he untied the cloth to reveal a child, a baby, no older than a few months. The child was pale, with wild, dark eyes that seemed to stare right through Mosi. He couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. Mosi's first instinct was to check for any sign of the child's parents, but there was nothing, no one in sight. As he lifted the baby carefully in his arms, a small piece of paper fell from the cloth, fluttering to the ground. Mosi unfolded it with trembling fingers. The note was short and cryptic. The curse is real. Protect the child at all costs. His mind was a whirlwind of questions. Who would leave a child on his doorstep with such a message? And what curse was the note referring to? The quiet village, once so familiar, now felt ominous, as though the very air around him was thick with secrets he wasn't prepared to face. The quiet village, once so familiar, now felt ominous, as though the very air around him was thick with secrets he wasn't prepared to face. The curse is real. What could it mean? He glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out from the shadows and explain. But there was nothing, only the haunting stillness of the night. As he brought the child inside, a knot tightened in his stomach. The baby's large, dark eyes followed him, unblinking, as if it knew more than it should. Mosi laid the child on his cot, his mind racing. He needed to understand what was going on, but where could he start? He thought about the note, protect the child at all costs. But from what? And why was this baby abandoned on his doorstep? Was this some sort of trap? Or had the village been unknowingly harboring a terrible secret? Mosi walked over to the small wooden cabinet where he kept his herbs and tools. He took out a few of his most trusted remedies, hoping to ease the child's discomfort. But as his fingers brushed over the baby's skin, something strange happened. The child's pulse quickened. Mosi recoiled, his heart pounding in his chest. The sensation was unlike anything he'd felt before, like the baby was drawing energy from him. Something foreign, something unnatural. A sudden knock at the door startled him, and he froze. Was someone watching? Had someone seen him take the child inside? There was no time to waste. He had to get answers, and fast. With the baby still in his arms, Mosi hurried to the village elder's hut, hoping for answers. The elders were the keepers of the village's history, and surely they would know more about this curse. He knocked frantically, his palms clammy with sweat. When the door creaked open, he was met with the elder's stern gaze. Come in, Mosi. We've been expecting you, the elder said, his voice grave. Mosi stepped inside, feeling a chill run down his spine. The air was thick with the smell of burning incense, and the flickering candlelight cast long, twisting shadows across the walls. The elder motioned for him to sit, and without waiting for an invitation, Mosi placed the child on the ground, his eyes never leaving the elder's face. This child is no ordinary child, the elder said, quietly, his eyes narrowing. It carries the blood of an ancient curse, one that has been passed down through generations. The mark on its chest, it is the symbol of a forgotten god, a god that demands a sacrifice. Moses' blood ran cold as the elder's words sank in. The truth hit him like a bolt of lightning. The curse was not just a warning, it was a call to action, and it was now too late to turn back. The baby wasn't just an innocent child, it was the key to something far darker, something far more powerful. There is only one way to stop the curse, the elder continued. You must offer yourself as a sacrifice. Moses' heart pounded in his chest as the elder's words sank in. Sacrifice. Could he really do it? Could he offer his life to stop a curse he hadn't even fully understood? The room felt suffocating, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He glanced at the baby, its wide dark eyes staring up at him, as if it knew the terrible truth. What choice do I have? Mosi whispered, more to himself than to the elder. His hands trembled as he reached for the baby once more. He had sworn to protect his people, to heal them, but now he was faced with a decision that would change everything. The elder nodded, his expression unreadable. Once the curse has claimed its sacrifice, the village will be safe. But know this, there will be no coming back from this. Mosi took a deep breath, and without another word, he turned and walked out of the elder's hut. The wind howled through the trees, but Mosi couldn't hear it. His mind was focused on only one thing, the choice he had to make. As he disappeared into the forest, the village behind him grew quieter, as if the world was holding its breath. Mosi knew his life would never be the same. The darkness was closer now, but the sacrifice was inevitable. Sometimes destiny calls for a price that is too great, Mosi thought, and sometimes there is no choice but to answer